And Shedeur Sanders, as you know, Todd Monken came out and said that it's either going to be one of these two guys. He didn't mention Dillon Gabriel having a shot to be the starter because he was asked, Monken was asked, when's he going to name the number one? And he basically said, I might not.
Shedeur is starting now. All right. Well, I will say this. It definitely seems like we are trending in a direction where that could absolutely be the case all of a sudden.
The Cleveland Browns are sitting in one of the most uncomfortable quarterback situations in the NFL. This is not just about who looks good in June. This is about money, pressure, locker room belief, and the future of a franchise that has spent years trying to solve the same problem. Watson is trying to prove he is still capable of being the guy. Shedeur is trying to prove he is not just a name, but a real NFL quarterback. And Gabriel is watching the conversation move past him like he isn't even in the room. When Rich Eisen reacted to all three quarterbacks speaking, his point was interesting. He was not panicking about the Browns not having a starter named in June. He was saying this might mean the Browns genuinely believe both Watson and Shedeur are still alive in this race. Watson said he is a changed individual. For the Browns, that is a big statement. He's not just another quarterback returning from injury. He is the quarterback they gave up everything for. So when he says he is changed, the real question is not whether he means it personally. The question is whether he can prove it on the field fast enough for Cleveland to believe him again.
It would feel different if I didn't feel like their progression hadn't gotten to this point where I think they both can start and play winning football. I'm convinced of it, and I'd say it if I didn't. I mean, I can't decide now because I think both have earned the opportunity to continue to compete once we put the pads on.
Watson may only have one real year to prove he can still be the guy. The Browns cannot wait forever. So Watson is not just competing against Shedeur, he's competing against time, expectations, and the memory of what he used to be. Shedeur brings a completely different kind of pressure. Everything about him is loud, but he is not running from it. When asked about Monken on the Rich Eisen Show, Shedeur said Monken reminded him of someone who has high expectations and gives you no choice but to be great or get out of the way. Here's the part nobody is talking about. Rich immediately picked up on what that sounded like. Who else would Shedeur be comparing Monken to besides Deshaun Sanders? That connection matters. Shedeur has already been coached under a microscope by someone demanding and brutally clear about expectations. If Monken brings that same energy, Shedeur may not be overwhelmed by it. He may actually thrive in it. And that is exactly what makes this quarterback battle more dangerous than anyone expected.
I have a theory that the Miles trade changed the direction of it completely.
This is where the competition gets more interesting than people realize. Monken is not treating this like a polite summer storyline. When asked why he is not named a starter, his answer was revealing. He said this would feel different if he didn't think either quarterback was capable of starting. But he believes both can start and play winning football. Both have earned the right to keep competing once the pads come on. That quote is the center of the whole story. If neither quarterback looked good, this would be a disaster. If Watson was clearly ahead, the story would be boring. But according to Monken, both have done enough to stay in it. The Browns may not have an answer yet because the answer has not separated itself. Here's the part nobody is talking about. This is June. Teams do not have to name a starter in June. The real test comes when the game gets physical, faster, and more uncomfortable. That is when the difference between looks good in shorts and can run the offense under pressure becomes clear. So Monken waiting until the pads come on is not confusion, it's smart coaching. And it means training camp is about to become must-watch football for every Browns fan who has been waiting years for a real answer at quarterback.
Deshaun has the advantage of being a guy who, now it was 2020, it was 6 years ago, has led the NFL in passing. So the idea that a guy who has not played football in 18 months but is in good shape physically, very good shape physically, he looks great out there.
Nobody is talking about Dillon Gabriel anymore. When Monken discussed the competition, the names that kept coming up were Watson and Shedeur. Gabriel was not mentioned the same way. In a quarterback room where every rep matters, every public comment matters too. Rich joked about the number situation with Jared Verse seemingly taking over like a body snatcher. Funny moment, but the bigger point is real. The spotlight is moving toward Watson's comeback and Shedeur's push. Gabriel is becoming the forgotten part of this story. Some people will say any team that does not know its quarterback in June is already in trouble. There is truth to that. You want certainty, you want a clear plan. But if the Browns genuinely believe they have 2 quarterbacks who can win, this is not automatically a disaster. It just means training camp is about to matter more than it has in years. And in Cleveland, that kind of uncertainty has a way of turning into something nobody saw coming.
I think at the end of the day, they're going to see Deshaun Watson and go, all right, you came back from your Achilles. We put so much into you, so much grief for the decision that we've made, rightfully and also just internally. We're going to see what we got in you before we move on. And then if the first half of the season doesn't go well enough, they're going to be like, then we need to see what we got in Shedeur, because boy, do we have draft choices up the you-know-what over the next few drafts, including the quarterback-heavy one next year.
Having 2 quarterbacks who might be good is only helpful if one of them eventually becomes clearly good. If the Browns drag this out too long, it gets messy. Watson needs reps, Shedeur needs reps, the offense needs identity. At some point, this competition has to stop being interesting and start becoming decisive. Rich Eisen seemed to think this could lean toward Watson at the start, and that makes sense. The Browns invested too much to not give him a serious chance if he is healthy. Watson does not just represent a player, he represents one of the biggest decisions this franchise has ever made. Here's the part nobody is talking about. If Watson starts and the first half of the season does not go well, the pressure for Shedeur grows fast. Fans will ask what the Browns have to lose. Every Watson mistake gets compared to the unknown upside sitting behind him. And because Shedeur already brings attention, confidence, and a massive public following, that conversation gets loud very quickly. The Browns may think they can control the timeline, but quarterback controversies have a way of controlling teams instead.
If Miles was still on this team, you could argue the Browns were in win mode. Okay, even though they're, more realistically a year or 2 away. With Miles on the team, they were going to try to do everything they can to just win.
The future draft picks matter too. Cleveland has a lot of capital over the next few years, including what could be a quarterback-heavy draft. The Browns are not just deciding between Watson and Shedeur for this year. They are trying to figure out whether either one can stop them from needing another quarterback entirely. If neither answer is convincing, those picks become the escape hatch. That is why this season feels like a trial for everybody. Watson is on trial to prove he can still be trusted. Shedeur is on trial to prove he is more than a famous name. Monken is on trial to develop this room. And the Browns are on trial to finally get the quarterback decision right. Watson represents the expensive bet. Shedeur represents the intriguing unknown. Gabriel represents the overlooked option. And the Browns represent a franchise that cannot afford to get this wrong again. Because in Cleveland, getting it wrong at quarterback is not just a bad season. It's another chapter in a story that has already gone on far too long.
Just having the better offseason program to be the odds-on favorite to win that job. And look, I think Deshaun Watson's the odds-on favorite to win that job, no question about it. But, Shedeur Sanders very much is getting a fair shake. He's very much getting as many reps as Deshaun is, and he's getting his opportunity to show what he can or, maybe cannot do.
For Watson, this may be the final chance to rewrite the story in Cleveland. If he plays well, the Browns can say patience paid off. If he does not, the trade and contract become even harder to defend. For Shedeur, this is the chance to prove his confidence belongs at the NFL level. And for Gabriel, the challenge is simple. Make them say your name. Because right now, the conversation is happening around him, not with him. This is not just a quarterback competition. It's a pressure test for the entire Browns organization. The safe move is starting Watson. The exciting move is giving Shedeur a real shot. But the worst move is pretending this situation is simple. Quarterback battles are fun in June. They are content and debate and talk show gold. But in September, they become pressure. In October, they become blame. And in November, they can define an entire season. The Browns have been here before. The only question is whether this time they have the courage to let the best quarterback win before it's too late.
after the Miles trade, it's going to be hard to be competitive this season. So, why not play Shedeur? See the younger guy. I'm the bigger proponent of play the young guy when Watson's, old on the last year of his deal, and we've been there, done that.
So, the real question is not just who should start for the Browns. The real question is what kind of future they are willing to bet on. Do they give Watson one more chance because they've already invested too much to walk away? Do they let Shedeur push harder because he might bring something fresh to a team that needs a new spark? Or do they keep pretending this is a wide-open competition when the real race is already between two names? That is where the debate begins. If Deshaun Watson is healthy, should the Browns give him the first shot because of the money, the experience, and the investment? Or should Cleveland stop protecting the past and start chasing the future with Shedeur Sanders before another season slips away? Because Rich Eisen may have joked his way through the segment, but the message was serious. The Browns have options. The Browns have pressure. And if they choose wrong, this quarterback competition will not just be a summer storyline. It could become the reason their whole season falls apart.